Welcome to another edition of the Gridiron Report. I'm Jared Johnson, and in this video, I'm going to be recapping what's been going on in fall camp since that fourth practice. I believe I did a video recap, talking about what was going on with Texas Tech fall camp through the first four practices. This will be on practices 5 through 10, and the 10th one was Monday, which I was at, and that includes the first scrimmage of fall camp as well. The scrimmage was closed to the media, but we did talk with head coach Joey McGuire afterwards. So I'm going to hit on some points here. First off, Baron Morton has looked good in terms of the health of his shoulder, his throwing shoulder. He said he's doing 120, 150 reps a day, which is his normal average. I saw him out there even Monday morning. He was, slinging the ball around, some really nice deep throws, really good delivery on some of those intermediate, some kind of more timing routes. He looks good in terms of how much you could judge a quarterback in the offseason, even in fall camp. His throwing shoulder looks very healthy, which is great news. Staying in the backfield, running back, obviously you got Taj Brooks, one of the best running backs in the country. He's looked really good, of course. But there is some competition, which I'll have a video talking about that more for the backup running back spot. It looked like Cam Dickey, the true freshman who was here in the spring and has been very impressive, was really challenging Cameron Valdez for that backup spot. He rolled an ankle and he's missed some time. But and Cameron Valdez has been good. Coach Kenny Perry, the running backs coach, mentioned that he's been very pleased with the way Cameron Valdez has played, that he's really improved. I think Coach McGuire actually said something recently, too, that he's been playing really well. Pass protection is still an issue for him just because of his size and durability. And in talking with Cameron himself after practice Monday, he said that it's more about his base and just his durability and going against those bigger linebackers. I've seen him show some improvement, but still be overwhelmed by some of the better linebackers on the roster. He even mentioned himself, Jacob Rodriguez is the hardest to block in pass protection when blitzing. And, J-Rod is just a really good football player, so he gives some of the best blockers out there a lot of problems. But that is kind of the caliber that, he would be facing Cameron Valdez, so he needs to step up. But we know how talented he is as a runner, very fast, shifty, guy. He's a really good compliment in terms of a back from Taj Brooks, the power back, the guy who will truck you and breaks a lot of tackles by just running through you. And then you got Cameron who will shake and bake. So that's a good combo. Watch out for Cam Dickey when he comes back. Rolled ankle, not expected to miss a lot of time, but I still think he'll challenge Cameron Valdez there. And Jacoby Williams is another freshman I really like. He wasn't here in the spring, or I think you probably hear him more. You already hear him a lot. He had two big runs in the spring game of 25-plus yards. I think they were against the number 2 defense. But everything I already was just in watching him in practice, like, this guy looks legit. And then to hear he had such a good spring game is just great news. So I feel really good. I first off, Jacoby Williams was a highly rated recruit out of Bedford High School, but he may even be better than where he was rated. I think he surprised some folks in terms of, he may be better than they thought. So that's great news. Receivers have looked good. Micah Hudson's made some wild plays. He's also played like a true freshman some, but been good. Josh Kelly, both those guys are going to figure in a punt return game. Watch for them, along with Dre McCray, who's really more of a kick returner, a preseason first team All Big 12 kick returner. But look for Josh Kelly, who I think might emerge as the primary punt returner, but Micah Hudson will be in there too, along with Dre. The tight ends, Mason Tharp's missed some time, but it may be just kind of a precaution, just watching him kind of move around. And I saw him in the weight room. He looks fine, but he's missed a couple practices. Jalen Conyers is really settling in after getting the offense down a little bit more. So I feel good about those tight ends. Offensive line, you got Dalton Merriman pushing Sterling Porcher at left tackle. Feel really good about Vinny Skiri and Sheridan Wilson at center and tackle, and then Caleb Rogers at right guard, Todd Buchanan at right tackle. They're getting Jackson Hughes, the transfer from South Carolina. He's almost ready for full go, McGuire said recently. So you're feeling really good about the depth and where the pieces are starting to fit in. You're really starting to get a clear picture there on the offensive line. Davion Carter, I saw him yakking after a drill, but then go in there and take a rep and do a good job of pass protection. That's just a part of fall camp. But he missed some time with the rolled ankle as well. But he's back full go. So offensive line's really starting to come together. We're getting a clear picture, and how good it's going to be. We'll have to see, because Coach McGuire, I know some people commented on this, did say recently that, or after the spring game, that the defensive line really controlled the first part of the scrimmage, that the offensive line had a hard time getting a push in terms of in the run game. Now, when they went to red zone, the offense won out. He said that it really wasn't even a contest. So you're seeing give and take there, and I really like that. And this is a good segue to flip over to the defense, because I really like the defensive front of these young defensive tackles. Just the fact that Texas Tech legitimately has 6 or 7 defensive linemen to rotate in there is just kind of like, because they've been so short there. They've had 1 or 2 stalwarts. Recently Jalen Hutchins and Tony Bradford have started and played for years and a lot of snaps, but now they feel like they have a really good rotation. The Quincy Ledette's, James Hansen, who came in. I'm going to miss some guys. Jaden Cofield is a guy who really made some noise as a young defensive tackle. There are more guys, but I'm not going to be able to rattle all of them off right now, but they feel really good about their defensive front. There's some experience there. There's some depth. There's depth for the first time, that's a new thing. Texas Tech, to have legitimate defensive tackles, just beast up there. They can rotate in, so that's good. You got to love the inside linebackers, Ben Roberts, Jacob Rodriguez. Both have looked great when I've been there. And, Ben Roberts was one of the guys highlighted by Coach McGuire after the spring game in terms of being a standout. Jacob Rodriguez is a leader and has looked great every time I've been out there at practice. Now, Dylan Spencer is an outside linebacker, is out for the season. McGuire revealed after that spring game, or after that scrimmage, that earlier in camp, Dylan Spencer had hurt his knee. It was non-contact, just overextended, and he will miss the season. That's a big loss. Now, he was going to be in the 2 deep there at outside linebacker. Him and Joseph Adedire. But they do have some depth on the outside as well. So I think some guys that can flip around. I know they have specific guys they think they see more as boundary or field outside linebackers, but some of those guys are versatile enough to flip to the other side and still be able to play at a high level. So that was a loss, but it's going to happen. That's part of it. There's no way everybody's going to stay healthy. You're going to lose some guys for an extended period. And Dylan Spencer is a tough one, because I really like him. Really young, stalwart, outside linebacker, edge time. So that was disappointing to hear. In the secondary, Mo Horn is a standout at one of the corners. Braylon Lux is great. He's your top corner, veteran dude. He can play multiple positions. I really like him as a pass rusher. We talked about that in one of these interviews I posted, a week or so ago. But in watching him in drills, he is a very gifted pass rusher. So I know he's playing corner, but if they can find a way to utilize him as a blitzer in some key moments, I think he can make some big plays from that aspect. But in terms of in coverage, everybody's raved about him. He was probably the best corner on the roster last year. But Mo Horn has really stepped up. Multiple people have talked about his teammates and his coaches about how well he's playing. He's a former 4-star Under Armour All-American, so it's really nice to see that that guy realize his potential. Jalen Peoples is another former highly rated recruit who has stepped up and is probably your 3rd corner right now. And those are your 3 main guys they'd like to see play the most. Star A.J. McCarty, who came over from Baylor, who had to sit out last year. Him and Brennan Jordan. Brennan Jordan looks like a different dude. Last year, his body, he looked like a true freshman. This year, it's not even that he's filled out. He almost looked leaner, but he's still a very physical player, very aggressive in practice. And I really like what those 2 guys bring in at Star, that hybrid safety linebacker position, that they ask a lot from that, players who play that position. But those guys look good. CJ Baskerville is a leader in the secondary at one of the safety spots. Chapman Lewis is another guy who played some as a true freshman last year they really like. Jordan Sanford's also in the mix back there. I'm trying to think about who else At safety, Javion Wilcox, transfer from TCU, former 4-star recruit. All those guys look really good. So things are starting to come together in all three phases. You can see the plan come together and the two deep. And this is a talented team. I've said it before. I'll say it again. I see 8-4. I know the team has higher expectations, but that would be one of the best seasons in the last decade plus, or a couple decades, almost decade and a half, for Texas Tech in terms of regular season wins. So, I'll get more into the schedule and their opponents and all that in the coming weeks. But yeah, I think the main thing is it's been a physical camp. It was a physical scrimmage, according to multiple people, including McGuire. There have been some injuries, but Dylan Spencer's the only serious one that I'm aware of now, knock on wood. So that's good. And I think for me to see, the quarterback Baron Morton be able to throw it and play well. Cameron Brown also, made a couple of nice throws in the scrimmage on Saturday. So, things are looking good. Got to keep those guys healthy and, keep working as we gear towards that August 31st season kickoff against Abilene Christian. But I got to say, all in all, through 10 practices, I like what I see from the Red Raiders. But for now, I want to thank you for watching, and until next time.